Good day, everybody. My name is Redeyes, and if you're asking, Metal Eden, what's this then? I'm here to answer that question. So, Metal Eden is the latest game, or next game I should say, by developer Rycon Games. Published by Deep Silver. It is a first-person boomer shooter, which is pretty much all you need to know if you're into boomer shooters. Now, their previous game, Ruiner, if you're familiar with that, the aesthetic, the use of like really bold coloring, you're gonna get that here. The look of this game, the aesthetic, the usage of color, absolutely gorgeous. Now I've played this one for about 4 hours or so now. I feel like I'm decent ways into it. I think I just got all the weapons on the most recent level I just did there, because I got the achievement for it. So it's not like a hugely long game, unless something else is gonna kick in here, But yeah, it came out on the 2nd of September there, and it also has a free demo. So if you like what you see here, then be sure to go and check out the demo. However, I will say the demo definitely does not show off enough gameplay-wise, I think, for just how much this game continues to sort of like evolve as you play. So with that in mind though, let's hop into the options menu, and then we'll hop into some gameplay afterwards. So, options menu, you're hit first thing, FOV slider. Defaults to about 95 or so, which is a just really solid FOV to play like any sort of first-person shooter. I cranked it up to 100 just because that is my preference. You've also got stuff here like auto switch weapon on empty, just, you're shooting your gun, runs out of bullets. Auto switches your gun. And then this one here toggles automatic switching to a weapon with ammo if you select an empty weapon. So, a couple of nice settings. Audio settings, you've got master, music, SFX, VO, and kill marker sound. This is all really good stuff. Kill marker sound I would recommend keeping on, because the game can get quite visually messy, or visually busy, I should say, not messy, because it's really good to look at. But there can be a lot going on, so keeping anything on that lets you know when you've actually killed enemies is very important, because there's been a couple of times I've actually thought I've killed an enemy and then I haven't, just because visually it's been a little bit hard to parse. Input-wise, we have keyboard directional dodge. This is a nice little thing for them to just add in for you if you want. Makes it so the dodge, which by default is on shift, you just hold a direction, hit shift to do a little dodge. It's a really fast and like nippy dodge, and you can chain it together multiple times. This makes it so you just double tap the movement key. I would say probably keep it on shift, but that's going to be a personal preference. I like it on shift. And then you've got your usual stuff like mouse sensitivity, mouse smoothing, acceleration, all that sort of stuff. It's, I don't know why games ever let you put in mouse smoothing. I don't know any situation where you would really, like, want this. It usually just tends to, like, mess with your aim. But that could just be the part of me that played a lot of, like, sort of competitive shooters and stuff, being like, no, nothing touch my mouse, nothing, only me. Same with mouse acceleration. But I know that one actually has sort of gained a little bit of momentum, I'd say, over the past few years. Some people finding a lot of success with that. And then you can do all this sort of same stuff with a controller as well. Now, let's hop into video settings. There is a lot to talk about in here. There's a lot of settings. So, window mode lets you do borderless, full screen, or just full screen or windowed. Good stuff. Resolution goes all the way up to 4K for me. It probably goes up as high as whatever your monitor is. Brightness, yeah, you can set all that. And then you've got all these lovely graphic settings, which are all very nice and lovely, and we like being able to tweak all of these. So I have played the game with everything on Ultra, or Epic, sorry, they call it. I found that the performance dip that I would get compared to everything on High just wasn't worth it. I couldn't really notice the visual difference between High and Ultra. I would say on Ultra, or Epic, sorry, I was maybe sitting at about 70 to 80. This is at 4K, by the way, so keep that in mind. For me, the game runs well. It's just, for this type of game, 70 to 80 FPS is not where I would prefer it to be. So I turned everything down to high, and then my performance was sitting really well. I was sitting well above 100. Very happy with that. Also, I love a game that lets you turn anti-aliasing off, because at 4K you just don't need it. One thing this game has is Lumen. So Lumen is kind of like a software-based solution for ray tracing, essentially. sort of the game handles the bounces instead of your graphics card handling it, essentially. Now, your graphics card obviously still has to, like, render all that, so it's not like it's a performance-free solution, it's just a different method. I would say, if you can get away with using this at a comfortable frame rate, because this is going to be one of your biggest frame rate chunkers, or at least it was for me. If you can get away with using this, I'm still playing comfortably, keep it on. Because aesthetically, this game is gorgeous, and its use of lighting and all the surfaces, it's just, it feels like it was very much designed with Lumen in mind, and it looks fantastic. I personally recommend keeping that on. But then you've got all your stuff like motion blur, VSync, all that sort of stuff. I always love being able to turn off motion blur. VSync, I never use it, because I use NVIDIA control panel method for capping my frame rate, so I don't need it, and I use G-Sync. Frame rate limit goes up as high as I would imagine whatever your monitor is, and then a few different, like, you know, steps along the way. You can also disable it entirely. I've just set it to 240 there. And then you've got your upscaling methods, of which you've got, you know, all the big brand versions and then their own Unreal Engine version. For me, I just use DLSS, and I've had it balanced. Again, I just want to get all the performance I can, get the frame rate as high as I can without sacrificing, like, any visuals. Because with this being like a boomer shooter, you need those fast reflexes. But at the same time, this game is absolutely gorgeous, and Lumen is quite intensive, so for me, it's finding that balance. And, well, when I say finding that balance, literally the DLSS preset of balanced seems to work the best for me. Normally I play on quality DLSS, but I haven't really noticed the visual difference between it and balanced. I know more recent DLSS versions, balanced and quality, are very, very similar, so that could be why. Either that, or it's just the pace of the game, like I'm not really noticing that sort of stuff. But yeah, pretty good stuff. Good stuff. Controls. You can rebind all your keys, as you might imagine. Lovely stuff. And you can even do the same with controller, which is also very nice. I imagine this game would be quite interesting to play on controller. Definitely not my preferred method for it, but good that it's there, and these are rebindable. Love that. Accessibility. You've got color blindness modes, you've got subtitles, and you've got language, which is all good stuff. One thing I didn't mention at the start is I love this main menu. Not only is it aesthetically gorgeous, but it's also like campaign and options. What else do you need? That's it. This looks great. So, Metal Eden, it's kind of set in this like sci-fi. Well, I say kinda. It is extremely sci-fi. Essentially, the human race has figured out how to like digitize consciousness. And with that, they've kind of sent out expeditions into the stars, and this is one of those expeditions, except it's all kind of failed and fallen apart. And your job as a hyper unit, which haven't really been explained what that is yet, is to go and find those responsible for this all falling apart, steal their shit, and then go and restart the project that would have all the human consciousness come back online, and then they can turn this into like a full, like, sort of colony type thing. So it's a really cool setting. It's a really cool backdrop for the game. Aesthetically, sets up for all really cool stuff. Anyway, let's hop into the game. So, I've been playing on Brutal, which is the hardest difficulty. Been having a lot of fun with that. But for now, let's, so what level we'll do? We'll do Inherent Deceit here. Now, I can't turn off the hardest difficulty, or else I'm going to lose the ability to get an achievement at the end of the game, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to try and explain this game to you while also playing on the hardest difficulty. Now, if you're familiar with like boomer shooters, I would say play this game on the hardest difficulty, because it's not Doom Eternal on Nightmare hard by any means. But it's a good challenge. It's a good challenge. For the most part, it's, you know, enemies do a ton of damage, they're more aggressive. It does give them more health than the next down difficulty, but it's not so much more that I've thought like, oh, these enemies are really tanky and really spongy and they're not fun to shoot. It's still all really good. I actually tested it recently, and the difference like wasn't actually that massive. So I would personally recommend it. But yeah, when I said this game has a gorgeous aesthetic, I was not kidding. Oh yes, tutorials popping up, because I just, in this mission, you would have just done a story thing to unlock a new thing, which got me grenades there. But yeah, look at this video game. Absolutely gorgeous. the use of colors, like this green just bouncing off my gun, and the surfaces just reflecting like all over the place. It is gorgeous. Like, whenever I found out that it was the Ruiner devs that made this game, I knew I was in for a visual treat as much as a gameplay treat. Now, as you might imagine with any good boomer shooter, you've got an assortment of weapons, all sorts of different things here. This is your kind of starting one, your SMG. It has infinite ammo, but it does overheat and need to cool down, but you can sort of upgrade that. Now, this is a very satisfying gun to shoot. This might be my favorite gun in the game, which is a funny thing to think about, the starting one. It's just so, like, I don't know, the closest word I can think to describe how I feel about this gun is just wet, you know? Like, the visuals of it firing, the sound of it firing, how the projectiles, like, bounce off the bullet hole areas and stuff like that. It just, yeah, it just spits, you know? It really just spits. It's so satisfying to use. You got yourself, like, this, like, revolver-type gun. You can sort of do a big charge up if you upgrade it right and stuff like that. You got yourself a shotgun. We've got like a energy rifle. This is useful for, there's a mechanic called armor, but we'll get into that once I find one of those enemies. And as on this level, that's all the weapons I have for now. Like I said, I have kind of unlocked all the weapons now on my latest level that I'm on. I got the achievement for doing so. So, not the longest game. I've been playing for about 4 hours. But I've been having a damn good time. But yeah, let's actually, I can show you, there is a upgrade screen. So this is what this is here. As you beat certain rooms, or you can seek these out in sort of hidden areas, you will gain these like amps, I believe they are. And then you can slot one of them into one of these upgrades. So I've got one here that like I can hover in the air, decrease dodge fuel cost. This is a big one. I really like that one a lot because it means I can just zip around the place dodging all over. Increase air control. That's a really fun one. There's this one I got. Oh, sorry, not this one. I got this one to slow time because I thought if this game's going to be like Doom Eternal hard, which I'm playing on hard, like if this game's going to be like ridiculously hard, then maybe I want that. I haven't used this like once since I got it. To be honest, I regret purchasing that one. Didn't really need it. But yeah, let's sort of hop along. So in between the sort of combat sections, you know, start of levels, you have traversal is usually what you're going to be doing in between all the fighting. And a lot of that is done on these sort of like big zip lines that you're sort of zooming around on. Kind of gives me some Bioshock Infinite vibes, you know, when you were sort of going around on those big rails, which is the only comparison I will be making to Bioshock Infinite when it comes to this game, because this game is a good game. But yeah, so I just keep getting stunned at how this game looks. It's just so nice. Here we have a little combat area, so enemies sort of spawn in, you know, we shoot them up, the usual affair. Use our guns to do all sorts of various things. Plenty of sort of movement to be done in this. Nothing like too crazy. You're not going to be zipping around quite like Doom Eternal. You're going to hear me make a lot of comparisons to Doom Eternal, because Doom Eternal is my personal, like, best boomer shooter. Like, I think that game, like, nailed it. However, when Ultra Kill is done, we may have a different opinion there. Yeah, playing this on the hardest difficulty while also trying to describe it is a bit of a challenge. But yeah, you'll notice that some enemies have like a green health bar above them. These enemies require you to break their armor before you can kill them. And there's various ways you can do that. And this is kind of this game's like gameplay mechanic that very much sets itself apart from other games like this. Just sort of gives you like an extra layer of a thing to do, a difficulty spike that they can throw at you. But essentially, you can rip cores out of people. If they don't have armor, you can just walk up to them, hit E, and just rip their core out. Now, whenever you have the core, you can chuck it kind of like a grenade, or you can consume it, and you'll be like boosted. And while you're boosted, you get like a super punch. And the super punch will break their armor. So you can do it that way. Another way you can do it is just a regular melee will kind of increase the damage that their armor takes, and then you can just kind of, you know, shoot them up, and it's a little bit less efficient, but you can do it. And then the other way you can do it is use energy weapons. So as of right now in the campaign, there's only this energy weapon. It doesn't really do much damage once the armor's gone, but very, very effective against armor. So you'd be using this quite a bit to break their armor, and then killing them, switching to another gun, and you know, some good weapon switching. And the ammo sizes are not massive. It feels like it definitely took after a bit of Doom Eternal there, where it was like, okay, we want to incentivize maybe some like weapon switching and stuff like that, but it's not so low that you're switching all the time. Especially the starting weapon has infinite ammo, so I mean, you really could just use this if you wanted to forever. And I really do like this weapon, I gotta say, like, it's very fun. Now, as you're running around, you'll find this dust. This is your currency, and it can be used to upgrade your weapons. You will find like vendors throughout the game as you go. And you can do all sorts of little upgrades. So that this pistol, for example, that was one of the upgrades I got, was it has this this charge shot. One really cool thing about the upgrades is it also changes the visual look of the gun as well, like quite drastically. This gun looked quite different when I first picked it up. The only downside is it doesn't really change the starting SMG, like really at all, when you upgrade it, which is very sad. So it just kind of looks the same the whole time. Yeah, these are your sort of traversal bits in between all the fights, and they break it up nicely. That's one thing that I'm going to say that this game does exceptionally well, and that is pacing. The way this game breaks up its fights, the way it has the traversal moments, and it has like little hacking moments, but it's also like it's throwing a new gun at you, or it's throwing a new type of level at you, or it's throwing a new enemy at you, or just a new story beat at you. You know, it's always something. Like, I was captivated for those 4 hours that I was playing it yesterday when it came out. Absolutely, absolutely just a pleasure to play. Really, really... Whenever you see a game with good pacing, it's just a sign of a dev that really knows what they're doing. Because pacing has to be one of the hardest things to do as a game dev. It really has to be. Yeah, we got this here. So to open this door, we have to stand inside these little areas and sort of charge them up. So we got some enemies with armor, so we're going to take out this, break that up, you know, and then we can kill him, rip out his core. We'll consume the core, and now I've got a super punch ready for the next person. That'll be you. So it didn't break it fully, but it takes a lot of damage now, and we can just smash our way through that. The shotgun, very satisfying to use. Just the way the enemies, like, all the bits and pieces when you shoot them, it makes you feel like these guns are hitting like absolute trucks, and that is a damn good thing to have in your game like this. So we'll take you out, we'll get boosted, we'll punch you, and we can just take out our gun and shoot you. So I'm getting too busy like talking away here. I'm not focused on the objective, because they will endlessly spawn until I charge this up. This is going to be tough. I remember finding this tough even when I wasn't having to explain how the game works. But yeah, very, very fun. If you like just getting into the zone in a big combat arena, just hard focusing on staying alive and also killing all the enemies in a really cool fashion, this game has got that for you. Oh, I've just died. However, I didn't actually fully die, and that is because one of the things you can find through exploration in this game is one-ups. Again, kind of reminds me of Doom Eternal there. Now, there's not a huge amount of exploration to be done in this game. It's kind of just as you're going through those little traversal sections, or in these arenas, you can sometimes find like a little hidden compartment. And it'll either have like dust in it, like I said, your currency, or it'll have... it could have a one-up in it if it's in a particularly sort of hidden area. So here's a big boy who's just turned up. 2 of them, actually. Thankfully, our energy weapon makes short work of their armor. And we can just blast them. So in terms of like bugs and stuff, I haven't really noticed any other than a little bit of AI weirdness from time to time. I have had some pathing issues where an enemy tried to jump at me over like a ledge and just botched the jump and then just fell to its death, which was quite funny. And honestly, like, a little bit relieving when all the hecticness is going on and the enemy just decides, you know what, I'm gonna give you this one for free. You know, appreciate that. You can see here we've got Nexus talking to us. Now he's kind of like our what's the term, man in the chair, who's sort of directing us and giving our objectives and stuff like that. Pretty interesting so far. Kind of likes to spout some, I don't want to say philosophical stuff, but certainly talks like someone who would. But in a good way. So far I'm very interested to see where the story is like kind of going to go. Mainly because this setting is so interesting. Our character does have, our character is voiced as well. We're not like a voiceless protagonist, but we don't really have a name or anything like that. We play as like a hyper unit, which hasn't really been explained fully what they are, but it just seems like I'm just, you know, an insane super soldier, probably. Basically, it was a form of tech that they didn't really invest in, but Nexus was like, oh, I actually think this is going to be sick as hell, and that's sort of paying off for him because that's what we are, and we're helping him, and all this sort of stuff. So, interested to see where the story goes. There's been some insane visuals based on, like, you know, story beats and stuff like that, absolutely, so a lot of fun in that regard. I also have grenades. Forgot about those. Only got those, like, somewhat recently there. Sort of like a freeze grenade, so you can just chuck that in them. Very, very nice for getting a bit of a breathing room. You know, if there's a bunch of enemies who are just bearing down on you and you maybe don't have a lot of health, you can just chuck a little grenade at them, maybe. Now, how you get health back is you just melee enemies. So you just walk up to them, just hit F, smack them in the face, and they just drop some health. No matter what, no matter if they're armored, no matter if they're not, just that's how you get it. Oh yes, this is one of the other weapons actually, the SMG. I like this thing. It feels a little bit weird to get an SMG, considering the starting weapon feels very much like an SMG already. But it's like a slow-firing, high-damage one, so... My thinking is that the energy weapon kind of took the assault rifle look. So they wanted another weapon like this that wasn't the starting one, because, you know, it's your infinite ammo one that you're probably not going to be using too much unless you're me, who, you know, just absolutely insanely loves it. What's this? I found an actual secret I didn't find before. So there you go, there's some of the exploration stuff that goes on. You can just find a little secret, and you have a look around, and be like, oh, look, there's a little thing. We charge that up, and then we're... who knows what we'll find. Looks like it's some dust. So that's the only thing. Exploration, finding the secrets and stuff like that. There's never anything too interesting. It's just like more currency for upgrades or a one-up. Not super exciting, but always useful. One of those type ones. So we got to charge this up. And that'll let us get through. It'll lower a little wall that we can do a wall run on. Oh yes, and this is our shop. This is our shop right here. Seize your weapons across the top, and then every gun except the starting one has 2 upgrades. Or sort of upgrade paths, I should say. So this pistol I chose the big startup laser shot, and then there's also a homing sort of missile, or homing rocket shot. And then you can upgrade those upgrades, you know, to make them better. Shotgun gets like a multi-pump shot, or a pellet of bouncing and piercing darts and stuff like that. It's all useful stuff. That's the only thing I would say about this game, is that the weapons aren't particularly varied in terms of how, like, original they are. They're all fairly, like, run-of-the-mill. Which, given the crazy, like, sci-fi setting, I feel like they could have gone maybe a bit out there. Or a bit more out there with some of these weapons, certainly. Not that they're bad, and they all feel good, they look good. Those upgrades, changing the visual look of the weapons and stuff like that, is a big plus. Oh, here we've got a new enemy type. Well, new for this level. I've, of course, seen this guy already, but... this room might be a little bit tough to do while talking, but I'll try and show you. He does like a little AoE. That AoE can be a little bit hard to see, and it's quite fast, but it's like quite dark in color compared to everything else that's going on, so I find myself not noticing it half the time until it's already right in front of me. That could just be a me issue, who knows. I will say, just speaking on the visuals again, if you have an OLED monitor, you are going to be in for a good time with this game. The colors just pop. I would say to anyone who's looking their next sort of upgrade for their setup, a new monitor is one of the biggest impactors that you'll have on feeling like you've gone and had a big upgrade. And OLED monitors are becoming fairly... well, I don't want to say cheaper. Well, they are literally becoming cheaper, but they're not, like, cheap. Yeah, you just seen me die there. So this room might be a little bit hard to do while discussing. There's also, sort of between this level and the last one, there was a different type of traversal level where you can turn it into, like, a ball and, like, roll around, and you have your own, like, attacks and sort of movement capabilities and stuff like that. It was very unexpected, but that's sort of what I mean whenever I say the game's pacing. Just sort of, you never know what the game's gonna chuck at you next. I really wasn't expecting that, and that's the sort of thing where I say, like, the demo maybe doesn't do the best at, like, sort of showing off all this game has to offer. Because there's a lot more going on than was in that demo. And of course, obviously a demo is just supposed to be a slice, but I feel like it just didn't show off the full strengths of the game. It was a bit too safe. It felt like this game was playing a bit too, like, samey compared to all these other games, and as I've been playing it more, the pacing of this has really stood out. The visuals really stand out, like, just graphically and stuff like that. How the weapons actually, like, feel to use is some of the best I've played when it comes to these sorts of games. I'd say really, like, Doom Eternal, Ultra Kill. Those are the only two games I would say I can think off the top of my head and go like, damn, you know, like those two games probably have better weapons. But this is a solid third place in that regard. And given how short this is, well, supposedly short, it might actually not be. Who knows? Maybe the game will just flip me on its head and be like, actually, 10 more hours and way more stuff, and we lied to you with that achievement. But given the fact that I've got all the weapons about 4 hours in, I can only imagine it is going to end relatively soon. This room is a little bit tough. I usually like to throw this new enemy at you in like a couple of waves. So you'll get used to it, you'll kill it, fight some enemies you've fought before, and then they'll throw some more at you with new enemies again. Now, one slight criticism I'd have of the game is the way to upgrade weapons is not only do you need currency, but you also need to kill enemies to actually unlock the ability to upgrade it. Like, just kill 30 enemies and you can then unlock the ability to upgrade your weapons. It's like a kill challenge you have to do before you can even think about it. And I will say, with the energy weapon, it kinda sucks to have to do that because it's... Okay, that guy just smacked me in the face. It kinda sucks because the energy weapon is sold to you as use this to break armor, and then use something else to kill the enemy. So it can be quite hard to actually get kills with it. Like, if you just grinded it out and just went through a couple of rooms and just, you know, did nothing but kill it, but when you're playing on this sort of difficulty, like, you can't really afford to do that. So I think either they should have removed it for this gun or made it, like, really small, like 5 kills or something. Like, it's not the end of the world. I'm just trying to think of gripes for this game, honestly, and I can't really think of any. Performance-wise, like, it runs really well. I've had... Actually, I've had a couple of issues where... Alright, this is where... I can't quite remember if I've said this already, because this is my second time actually recording this video. Because you'd be surprised how many times, like, I'm just not happy with what I said or the way I said it and stuff. But I can't remember if I said it in this recording version of the last one. But I did have some slight issues where whenever I would go in and melee an enemy, I would encounter some stuttering. Now, it wouldn't be too bad. It's not... We're not talking about, like... You know, I can't play the game, it's stuttering so bad, all this sort of stuff. I can't say, you know, oh, it's what got me killed there. That was definitely a skill issue. But it is noticeable. Like, I'll go into melee an enemy, and that animation, like during the melee animation, I'll just notice a stutter. It hasn't impacted the actual gameplay at all, but it's just something I've noticed, and, you know, gotta point them out as I see it, sort of thing. But it certainly has not been enough to even remotely impact my enjoyment of the game. I'd say, oddly enough, movement options are some of where this game lacks the most, which is funny considering your character's literally like wearing like a jetpack, essentially. You can sort of hover for a bit, but it doesn't last very long. It's basically just a jump. a big jump. You can do the shift dodges, and that's fast. Like, I do like doing this, but it also runs out quite easily. The fuel amount. This is with the upgrade that makes that gives me more fuel for it as well. So you're not really intended to be sort of leaping around all over the place. Just sort of very deliberate movement tends to be what they're going for here. But like in like Doom Eternal, for example, like you are zipping all over the place in that game. Now, it's not to say you can't. There isn't a bunch of movement options. There are, but it's mostly based on the environment and not you yourself, if that makes sense. Let's kill this guy, get him out of the way. We'll do a big charge shot, finish him off. Final wave. But yeah, so you're not going to be doing a ton of the movement yourself, like in, say, Ultra Kill. A lot of your movement options are very dependent on what the environment provides you. So here, there's not really a ton of like wall running opportunities. There's like a jump pad, stuff like that. Let's charge up, beat you up. Yeah, it's getting tough. It's getting tough. I'm really having to focus here. But yeah, this is what I love about these games. I love getting into the zone with them. I'm just really enjoying the moment. Which is why I like playing them on the hardest difficulties. Now that's one thing actually I forgot to mention, but is a slight annoyance. There is a mantling system where if you jump close to a ledge, you'll sort of climb up it. It's really aggressive. Like if you... Like if I'm like this, it'll just pull me up there, and I've had it a couple of times where I've been trying to like dodge from an enemy and I've like dropped it down, but it's accidentally pulled me back up and then that's gotten me killed. So I'd say, in terms of like actually mechanically, that's really the only criticism I have. Boss fight wise, there's only really been one boss fight that I've done so far. If I remember off the top of my head, it doesn't really seem like a very boss heavy game. And it wasn't too hard. Honestly, I've had rooms of enemies that are much harder than that boss fight was. I think I first tried it, you know, it really wasn't much of like a big boss, but it doesn't seem like that's what this game really wants to go for. But yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to say on this one. I've been having a really good time. It's got a couple of little gripes. Hopefully my commentary hasn't been too rambly. I've been trying to discuss how I feel about this game, but also trying to show you how it plays on the hardest difficulty, because I don't want to change the difficulty, because then I lose on that achievement that is presumably going to be like, you know, beat the entire game on the hardest difficulty, so I don't want to lose that. Yeah, so hopefully you understand and I've shown off the game well enough and had a good time watching. But yeah, that is Metal Eden. You can pick this one up for £32.99 or $35.99. It is also on a 10% off deal until September 9th, kind of like a launch sale type thing. So I would say it's worth it, personally, especially with that little 10% off deal that's going on at the minute. Game is gorgeous. Gameplay is really tight and fun. Performance is good on my machine. Thumbs up. You know, works for me. Thumbs up. Couple of little stutters whenever I would just get really close to an enemy, but it only seems to happen when I'm meleeing, so it doesn't actually impact anything. And that mantling thing is really about it. Oh, and the guns, I kind of wish they were a wee bit more creative in how they worked and stuff. They're mostly just, you know, run-of-the-mill this game sort of thing. Or run-of-the-mill guns for this type of game. Yeah, other than that, had a good time, and I will definitely be playing more of it myself. You know, I'll be completing this one for sure, especially given how not that long it seems like it's going to be. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I shall catch you guys on the next one. Have a good day. Bye bye.